Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks so much for being with us on this Labor Day weekend. Let's get right to my open. Don't lie to me. I am tired of lies. The absurdity of the claim that President Donald Trump, even the Donald Trump I knew before he was president, would call fallen soldiers losers and suckers is absurd. Disrespect the military? Are you crazy? From day one, this president has spoken proudly of and has been supportive of the United States military and law enforcement. And like everything else, he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. This week, The Atlantic claimed the president called deceased military buried in Aisne-Marne Cemetery near Paris, France, losers and suckers. The article cites 4 people. The accusers? To be able to quote exact words of the president, I would think the 4 people would have irrefutable, unblemished, unquestionable credentials. So who are they? You know them well. Anonymous. No names, no attribution, no ability to even question their veracity. Good old Anonymous. You remember them. Anonymous brought you the fake dossier. Anonymous brought you the false Russia collusion delusion. Anonymous brought America 3 years of hell as they leaked to overthrow a duly elected president. Anonymous, now 60 days before the election, seeks to wreak havoc in a presidential election. Now listen to the Atlantic editor-in-chief.
Did they explain their thinking as to why they wouldn't put their names to these accounts?
They don't want to be inundated with angry tweets.
He didn't want them subjected to angry tweets? Mean tweets? Really? Go hide in a bunker somewhere. In a trial, the behavior of an individual, what he does, is often admitted to counter allegations inconsistent with that behavior. This president fought for an astounding increase of $738 billion in national defense to protect our military, whittled down and demoralized during the Biden years. Such was crucial to our country, which faces increasingly dangerous times with the ascension of China's military might paralleled with our own military suffering enormous cuts. So what happened here? It was November 2018. The president was in France to celebrate military anniversaries. One visit to Aisne-Marne Cemetery was canceled because of the weather. The Atlantic alleges through those trusty anonymous sources that the president canceled the visit because, quote, the helicopter couldn't fly. The Atlantic states the helicopter couldn't fly excuse was a lie. Really? Don't lie to me. We have concrete, demonstrable evidence that conclusively refutes this. Here is the email sent that day. Look, the helicopter really can't fly. Bad weather call for today. United States Marine Corps military aid to the president. So I guess the anonymous source lied. Anonymous told the Atlantic POTUS didn't go to the cemetery because he didn't want to get his hair wet. Really? Well, then please explain why the next day President Trump is at another ceremony under the rain on the same trip, and explain all these other photos in the rain. Anonymous lied again. Don't lie to me. Anonymous says the president was unwilling to take a 2.5-hour drive to the cemetery. Another lie that will be absolutely refuted by my next guest. So who was in the room with the president when that was discussed? Sarah Sanders, who no longer works for the president, tweeted this: I was there. This never happened. John Bolton, no friend of the president, says he was there and there was no talk by the president of losers and suckers. The left wants you to believe because the president and John McCain didn't get along, these allegations must be right. The president and John McCain were political enemies. Remember McCain's thumb-down defeat of the health care bill? Records actually show McCain directed the fake Russian dossier about Trump to the FBI. So how is it the people smart enough and strong enough to be in the president's inner circle don't have the chutzpah or the intentional fortitude to say it in public? But what kills me is when the anonymous liars are supported by people who know less than they do. Take, for example, this guy, who was the mayor of some town in Indiana, who tweeted, "There are no words for how disgusting this is." When asked how he knew if it was even true, he says he can figure it out because the president thinks people who play by the rules or people who sacrifice for others are suckers. Really? Then why does he work so hard to get our economy on track, to provide for the military, to deliver on all his promises, to provide minorities with jobs that your cronies could never do? But from there, Buttigieg extrapolates he seems to think, the president, Christians are suckers. Really? The man who got rid of the Johnson Amendment, who fights to keep under God in our schools, who swore we'd be able to say Merry Christmas again, and who put in place the Mexico City policy prohibiting U.S. funds to be used internationally for abortions. That president? Are you sure you're not talking about Obama, who told Christians to get off their high horses? Are you sure you're not talking about leftist governors who open distilleries and keep churches closed? Look, things are not looking all that great for Joe Biden right now. He's even forced to come out of his bunker. The left's hissy fit knows no bounds. They will stop at nothing, from impeachment to getting into our faces to ignoring their jobs to focus on destroying the president. When you don't have the facts, you resort to lies. But the truth is clear. The job numbers that came out yesterday were higher than even expected. 10.6 million jobs created in 4 months, the fastest labor market recovery from any economic crisis in history. Perfect time for a hoax. You have 59 days. 59 days to decide on the future of this country. Witnesses willing to come forward or good old anonymous afraid to come out of the shadows. As for me, I hate lies. Don't lie to me. And that's my open. Let me know what you think on my Facebook and Twitter, #Judge Jeanine. And if you like my opens, you'll love my new book, Don't Lie to Me. Available for pre-order right now. Thanks. Here with reaction to my open and much more, Trump 2020 National Press Secretary Hogan Gidley joins me now. Good evening, Hogan. You were on that trip with the president in November of 2018. Is the allegation of the president maligning troops that's claimed by the anonymous sources in the Atlantic, is that true?
These are disgusting, reprehensible, grotesque lies. I was with the president in Paris. He never said that. He would never say that. In fact, this president would never even think such vile thoughts about the brave men and women of our military. I've been with him many times. I worked in the White House for 3 years. This is absolutely disgusting, the way the media is trying to smear this president, the way they would use cowardly, shady sources who don't have the guts to go on the record, and they don't, and they won't, because they know it's a flat-out lie. In addition, to try and use the military in this way, to try and hurt morale, to lie about the commander-in-chief simply to gain back some semblance of political power is absolutely sickening.
Let me ask you about the trip that clearly from the email from the aide from the Marine Corps, it was bad weather. They couldn't take the helicopter.
Right.
There are questions as to why the president did not take the 2.5-hour drive. Do you know why not?
A couple of things. First of all, let's talk about the helicopter first. It's not the rain that's the issue. Helicopters can fly in rain. It's the fog. It's the cloud cover. Getting there could have happened. They talked about this. We discussed how this would actually look. But any extraction effort would have been impossible. So, for example, had there been, God forbid, a threat against this president or another head of state that was also in attendance, there would be no way to get the president to safety quickly. The driving portion was possible in some form or fashion,
sure,
but it's not safe at all. In addition, we had not coordinated anything with the local officials in Paris. They did not have the assets on the ground necessary to provide the safety, security, and cover for the president to make that trip. We work with the Secret Service, the most brave, most sacrificial, the toughest people on the planet. They knew this wouldn't work. They also know their job is to protect the president. They've done it every single day, every single second. They're going to always do it. And this example is a perfect point to show they always will.
So there was no contingency if there had to be an immediate extraction of the president, if they had driven there. But let me ask you this. I mean, all of this about the president and the fact that...
There's always a contingency. The problem was it wasn't sufficient. They didn't feel strong enough that they could get the president to safety quickly, and that's what's important.
Right. Okay, good. Let's talk about what the president has done for the military and how different it is from when Obama and Biden were in power.
Absolutely. Biden went all over this country apologizing for America. I mean, we just saw a Democrat convention for 4 days in which they tried to tell the American people that America is inherently evil, that it's the cause of the world's problems. They cut funding for the United States military. Remember how bad the VA was? People dying on gurneys in the hallways? It was a train wreck. This president came in, rebuilt the military, trillions of dollars, cleaned up the VA, allowed them to fire people that weren't doing their jobs and protecting our strong vets. In addition, he made sure that over at the VA they could have choice as well, so they didn't have to rely on the Veterans Affairs and the VA hospitals. Right. They could go other places as well. This president has done more for the military. And listen, I have been with him when he goes to Walter Reed and talks to these brave men and women who've lost limbs, who've lost eyes, who've had their heads cracked open by the enemy. And they've thanked him for a lot of things. He's been with them. He's cried with them. He respects and reveres what they do. And one thing they consistently say is that this president, one of the things that Biden did was they worked to hamstring the military in Afghanistan with all of these rules of engagement. The president expanded that. The deaths, the maimings went down overseas because now the men and women of the military can defend themselves. They couldn't with Joe Biden and his policies.
Hogan Gidley, thanks so much for making that clear. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Absolutely.